Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English for Every Day. My name is Mia, and I'm so happy to have you here again. Today, we have something truly special for you. A calm, beautiful story called The Forest Trip. Have you ever wanted to speak English more naturally, more confidently, without memorizing boring grammar rules? Then let me show you a powerful way to practice. The shadowing technique, a simple but powerful tool to train your brain and mouth to speak English fluently, like a native speaker. This video is not just a story, it's an experience. You'll listen to a peaceful journey into a magical forest, filled with sounds, emotions, and beauty. And by the end, you'll be speaking English along with me, like a true language explorer. But first, what is this story about? Why is this forest so special? What secrets lie beneath its trees? And what surprising moment will change everything? You'll soon find out. Here's how it works. First, just listen. Relax and enjoy the story. Let the words flow into your ears. No pressure, just you, the forest, and the language. Then, in part 2, I'll tell the same story again, slowly, with pauses. You'll repeat after me. That's shadowing, and it works. Your pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence will grow quickly. Are you ready? Let's begin our journey into the forest. Section 2 Story. First listening. It was a quiet morning when Alex decided to take a trip to the forest. The sky was a soft gray, and the air smelled like wet leaves and earth. He packed a small bag, just a bottle of water, a notebook, and a sandwich, and stepped out the door with no exact plan, only a direction, toward the woods. As he walked, the city slowly faded behind him. The noise, buzzing, the cars, the rush, it all melted into silence. Ahead of him stood tall trees with mist swirling around their feet. They looked like gentle giants, waiting for someone to notice their beauty. Alex stepped onto the forest path. The ground was soft. Each step made a gentle crunch. He took a deep breath. There was something magical about the forest. Not just its size or silence, but the feeling. As if the trees could listen. As if the forest knew he was coming. Birds chirped above. A squirrel darted across the path. The forest wasn't empty. It was alive. He walked deeper, touching the bark of trees, noticing mushrooms growing near roots, watching the way sunlight filtered through the leaves like golden dust. After an hour, Alex came to a clearing, a wide open space, with a single wooden bench in the center. It was old, covered in moss, but inviting. He sat down and opened his notebook. There was something he'd been trying to write for weeks, a story maybe, or a memory. But in the city, the words wouldn't come. Here in the forest, the thoughts began to form like clouds gathering in the sky. He wrote, "The trees don't speak in words, but I can still understand them." He smiled. That was the beginning. A soft wind blew. Leaves danced above him. The world felt like it was holding its breath. Suddenly, he heard a small sound. Not an animal, not the wind, a flute. It was faint, almost imaginary, but it was there, a melody floating through the trees. Alex stood up, notebook in hand. He followed the sound. The forest changed as he walked. The trees were older, their roots thicker. The path twisted and narrowed. Flowers appeared, blue, white, golden, in places they hadn't been before. The flute grew louder. Then he saw her, a girl, sitting on a log, playing. She wore a red scarf and smiled without stopping the tune. When she finished, she looked at him. "You found the song," she said. "I heard it," Alex replied, unsure if he was dreaming. Most people don't. They walk past it, or they're too loud to hear it. Why are you playing out here? She shrugged. The forest listens. They talked about music, dreams, fears, and places they wanted to go. She told him stories of birds that could talk, trees that moved, and rivers that could remember. Alex listened like a child hearing fairy tales for the first time. When the sun began to fall, painting everything orange and gold, she stood. "I should go," she said. "Will I see you again?" "If you keep listening," she smiled, "maybe." She walked into the trees. The flute melody returned, softer now, until it faded completely. Alex stood alone, but the silence wasn't empty. It was full of music, memory, and magic. He walked back slowly. The forest seemed brighter, as if it had told him a secret. Back at the clearing, he sat again. He wrote, "Magic is real. You just have to walk slowly enough to see it." And then he closed his notebook. The sky turned purple. Stars began to peek through the canopy. It was time to return. But something had changed. He wasn't just visiting the forest anymore. He was part of it. Section 2, Story, First Listening. It was a quiet morning when Alex decided to take a trip to the forest. The sky was a soft gray, and the air smelled like wet leaves and fresh earth. He packed a small bag, just a bottle of water, a notebook, a sandwich, and his favorite pen, and stepped out the door with no exact plan, only a direction, toward the woods. As he walked, the city slowly faded behind him. The noise, the cars, the rush, it all melted into a gentle silence. Ahead of him stood tall trees, mist swirling around their roots. They looked like peaceful giants, standing watch over the land, waiting for someone to notice them. Alex stepped onto the forest path. The ground was soft. Each step made a gentle crunch. He took a deep breath. It smelled like pine, and something older, something ancient. There was something magical about the forest, not just its size or its silence, but its presence. It felt alive, as if it could see and hear him, as if the forest had memories. Birds chirped above. A squirrel darted across the path. The forest wasn't empty. It was full of quiet life. Alex walked deeper, brushing his hand along the bark of trees. He noticed tiny mushrooms near the roots, spiderwebs shining like silver in the morning light, and the way sunlight filtered through the leaves like golden dust falling from the sky. He followed the winding path without thinking. There were no signs, no maps, just instinct. After nearly an hour, he came to a clearing, a wide open space with a single wooden bench in the center. It looked forgotten, covered in moss and leaves, but somehow still waiting for someone. He sat down and opened his notebook. There was something he'd been trying to write for weeks, a story, a memory, a thought. But in the city, the words wouldn't come. Here, in the quiet of the forest, the thoughts began to gather slowly, like clouds forming in the sky before a gentle rain. He wrote, "The trees don't speak in words, but I can still understand them." He smiled. That was the beginning. A soft wind blew. Leaves danced above him. The forest felt like it was holding its breath, like something was about to happen. Then he heard it. A sound, faint, soft, almost a whisper. Not an animal, not the wind, a flute. At first he thought he imagined it, but there it was again, a melody floating through the trees, light as air but full of feeling. Alex stood up, notebook in hand, and followed the sound. The path ahead was different. The trees here were older, their roots twisted above the ground like ancient sculptures. The air smelled deeper, like moss, old stone, and mystery. He walked slowly, carefully, letting the sound guide him. Flowers appeared along the path, tiny blue ones like stars, white ones that glowed softly in the shade, golden ones that moved slightly when he passed. He felt as if the forest was showing him a secret. The flute music grew louder. Then, in a small hidden grove, he saw her, a girl sitting on a mossy log, playing the flute. She wore a red scarf around her neck and had wild curly hair that caught the light. She saw him but didn't stop playing. Her eyes smiled before her mouth did. When the song ended, she lowered the flute. "You found the song," she said. "I heard it," Alex replied, still not sure if this was real or a dream. "Most people don't," she said. "They walk too fast, or they're too loud to hear." "Why are you playing here?" She shrugged. "The forest listens." They sat together and talked. She told him about the places she had visited, lakes where the water whispered stories, trees that leaned closer when you read aloud, and birds that repeated secrets they'd overheard. Alex listened, fascinated. He told her about his notebook, about how he always wanted to write something true, something that mattered. But the words only came when he was far away from noise. They sat in that grove for hours. She played more songs. He read his words aloud. The forest, it seemed, listened to them both. As the day grew older, the light changed. Shadows grew long. The leaves turned gold and red and orange, catching the last sunlight. She stood up and smiled. "I should go," she said, brushing leaves from her scarf. "Will I see you again?" he asked. "If you keep listening," she replied. "Maybe." She walked into the trees. The flute melody returned, softer now, fainter until it disappeared completely. Alex stood still. The air was quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet, not empty, but full. Full of memory, music, and something he couldn't explain. He walked back slowly, retracing his steps. The forest seemed brighter now, as if it had shared a secret with him. He noticed things he had missed before. A feather caught on a branch, a pattern in the moss, a path of tiny white stones leading toward the clearing. Back at the bench, he sat down again. He opened his notebook and wrote, "Magic is real. You just have to walk slowly enough to see it." He added one more line. "The song lives in the silence." The sky had turned purple. Stars peeked through the canopy like tiny eyes watching from above. A breeze touched his face, warm and gentle. It was time to return. He stood, placed the notebook back in his bag, and began to walk. The city was waiting, but he didn't feel the same anymore. He hadn't just visited the forest. He had become part of it. Section 3, Story, Shadowing. Listen, then repeat after me. Let's practice together, slowly, step by step. It was a quiet morning. Alex wanted to go to the forest. He didn't plan much, just a walk and a notebook. Repeat that. Just a walk and a notebook. The sky was soft gray. The air smelled like rain and trees. Alex packed his bag, water, a sandwich, a pen. Then he left. The city noise faded. Cars, horns, people, gone. Ahead, the trees stood tall. Mist wrapped around their roots. Alex took a deep breath. Repeat that. Alex took a deep breath. He stepped onto the path. The ground was soft and quiet. Leaves crunched under his shoes. Birds chirped above. A squirrel ran by. The forest was alive, not loud, but full of sounds, whispers, rustles, wind. It felt peaceful. Alex walked deeper. He touched the trees, saw mushrooms, watched sunlight through leaves. It looked like golden dust. Repeat that. It looked like golden dust. After some time, he found a clearing. One bench covered in moss. He sat down. He smiled. He opened his notebook. In the city, he couldn't write. But here, thoughts came slowly, like clouds in the sky. He wrote, "The trees don't speak in words, but I can still understand them." Repeat it now. The trees don't speak in words, but I can still understand them. Then he heard something, not wind, not birds. A flute, very soft, very far. Was it real? Alex stood up. He followed the sound. Each step felt strange. The path changed. The trees grew older. The air got cooler. Flowers appeared. Blue, white, gold. They seemed to glow. The flute grew louder. Then he saw her. A girl on a log. She wore a red scarf. She played the flute. She smiled without stopping. When she finished, she said, "You found the song." Repeat that. You found the song. Alex said, "I heard it." She replied, "Most people don't. They walk too fast or too loud." Alex asked, "Why are you playing here?" She said, "The forest listens." Repeat both. Why are you playing here? The forest listens. They sat together. They talked for a long time. About music, about dreams, about stories in the trees. She told him, "Some birds speak. Some rivers remember. Some trees can move." Alex listened like a child. Repeat. Some trees can move. The sun started to set. The light turned orange and gold. She stood up. She said, "I should go." Alex asked, "Will I see you again?" She smiled and said, "If you keep listening, maybe." Repeat that slowly. If you keep listening, maybe. She walked away. The flute played again, softer, quieter. Then it stopped. Alex was alone, but the silence felt full. Full of music, full of meaning. He walked back. The forest looked different, brighter, alive. He saw feathers, stone patterns, a hidden path of white rocks. He sat again on the bench. He wrote, "Magic is real. You just have to walk slowly enough to see it." Repeat that carefully. Magic is real. You just have to walk slowly enough to see it. He added, "The song lives in the silence." Try it now. The song lives in the silence. The sky turned purple. Stars appeared above. It was time to return. But something was different. Alex smiled. He hadn't just visited the forest. He had become part of it. And now, you've become part of the story too. Well done. You listened. You shadowed. You spoke English with emotion. Take a breath. You're improving every time. Section 4. Conclusion. You made it. You listened. You shadowed. You practiced real English, not just with your mouth, but with your heart. Through one peaceful forest story, you built fluency, confidence, and rhythm. You followed the words. You followed the emotions. And now, English feels more natural. That's the power of the shadowing technique. It connects sound with meaning. It helps you speak with feeling, not just grammar. Let's take a moment to remember. You met Alex. You walked with him through the forest. You listened to the flute. You heard the magic. And you spoke every word. This is how we grow, step by step, word by word. And you're doing it beautifully. If this story helped you, please like this video. Subscribe for more relaxing, powerful English stories. And comment below, what was your favorite part of the forest trip? You're not just learning English, You're living it. See you in the next story.